If I want to see myself, I only get my back. We got to reverse this thing somehow. You're having all the fun. Okay, I don't know why I'm here. I assume he won't tell me because he's busy. Got more important stuff to do. All right? Now then, what am I doing here? And what do I have to do not to get in trouble?
Not leave.
All right, here we go.
Okay, Stanley, your story is almost like the story of the comic book industry itself. You go back to 1939, the superheroes came along then, but over the years, you've made them into something else. What we have today is old you. So when your Uncle Robbie took you down to Martin Goodman's office, what were your thoughts about comics and...
Now I have a confession to make. Even though I obviously look like the most perfect physical specimen you have ever seen, my hearing isn't as good as it used to be. And when my friend talks into this mic, it's so good. So put the mic away. I've always thought about it. I think that comics are one of the greatest types of reading matter in the world because you have pictures, you have words. Steven Spielberg once said to me, see now you can tell I'm a name dropper, but he once said to me, you know Stan, you and I do essentially the same thing except my pictures move. Of course, that was before we went into movies, and now our pictures move too. We'll get to that later. Anyway, what was the question? I don't know. In the early days, when I first came into the industry, and comics were just coming together. See, I'm his translator. What were my thoughts? All right, I'm going to answer honestly, because you expect nothing less from me. My thought was, I hope these books will sell so that I'll keep my job and be able to pay the rent. That was about as exotic as my thoughts ever got. We didn't know in those days, we didn't know that one day there'd be comic book conventions with fans like you, with all the excitement and the publicity and the fun and the get-together and the collecting. In fact, talking about collecting, I hate to say this, but we worked in a little office back then. The name of the company was Timely Comics before it came Atlas, before after that it became Marvel. So back in the 40s, I guess, or 50s, I'm not good at years, we were Timely Comics. in the very beginning, and that was before the Fantastic Four. And he had absolutely no respect for his readers. He figured they don't particularly want to read anything. They just want to look at pictures of people fighting, shooting each other, beating each other up. So he used to say, don't worry about a story, don't worry about characterization, don't worry about good dialogue, just give me a lot of action, that's what they want. Well, I wanted to be paid, so I did what he wanted for years. And one day I said, I can't do this anymore. So I said to my wife, I think I want to quit and look for another job. She said to me, in words of wisdom, because we all know what wise are. She said, Stan, why don't you do a book the way you'd like to do it? The worst that happens is he'll fire you and you want to quit anyway. So I figured that was good advice, and I did the Fantastic Four. I figured I'm going to get characters that maybe have some personality, and I'll play up the characterization and so forth. And I'll try to get real stories besides just action. Well, the Fantastic Four sold like crazy. So my publisher, who was no dummy, came running into me, and he said, do some more books like the Fantastic Four. So now it was becoming fun. I don't remember the order we did them in, but then I did the X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Hulk, and all the others, and they all did well. So now I enjoyed my work, and everything was different. Was that a good answer? Okay. I want to please him very much. If you've heard this before, you're free to read a comic book while I talk. The others might want to listen. How Spider-Man was created. After the Fantastic Four was selling well, and I think the X-Men was selling well, Martin, who was my publisher, came into me and said, Stan, come on up with something else. Well, I wanted to do something different. And I thought, what can I do? Now, when you do a superhero character, the most important thing is to figure out what superpower will you give him. And I thought I had used up all the superpowers. I think I had already done the Hulk, who was the strongest guy in the world. We had the Human Torch, who could burst into flame and fly, and the Invisible Girl, and on and on. And then I saw a fly crawling on the wall. And I said, wow, wouldn't that be cool if we could get a superhero who could crawl on walls like a... No, I'm lying. I probably didn't say, wouldn't that be cool, because the word cool wasn't in use yet. I probably said, wouldn't that be groovy? Because I'm lying. Anyway, I thought that was good. So now the next thing you need is a name. So I figured, how about Insect Man? It didn't sound heroic or dramatic. Fly Man, didn't have it. I went down the list. Mosquito Man, and then I got to Spider-Man. Ooh, I love that name. So then, in order to make him really different, I thought, I'm going to make him a teenager. Because there were no teenage superheroes I knew of. And then I said, I'm going to give him a lot of personal problems. Because I didn't know any superhero who had personal problems. The only personal problem Superman had was when he takes off his glasses, people might know who he is. So I went rushing in. Thank you, Superman. I went rushing into Martin's office, and I said, I got a new superhero for you. And I told him what my idea was. And he said, in words that will live in infamy, He said, first of all, you can't call somebody Spider-Man because people hate spiders. Then you say you want him to be a teenager. A teenager can only be a sidekick. What's the matter with you? And then he said, you mean you want him to have personal problems? Superheroes don't have personal problems. They're superheroes. He did everything to keep me out of the office. Well, I was heartbroken. But we had a magazine that we were planning to kill. I think it was called Amazing Fantasy. Now, when you're going to kill a magazine, nobody cares what you put in the last issue. You're killing it anyway. So just to get it out of my system, I put Spider-Man in the last issue of Amazing Fantasy, and I featured him on the cover, and I forgot about it. A month later, the sales figures came in, and Martin came running into my office, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, Stan, do you remember the character Spider-Man of yours that we both loved so much? I swear. He said, let's make him a series. And that's how Spidey was born. Thank you. I hated teenage sidekicks. Look, if I were a superhero, or even a person, would I go around with a teenage sidekick? At the very least, people would talk. Gotta remember that.
And interestingly, if you now look at the Marvel Universe with that knowledge, you will see they don't exist in the Marvel Universe. Since Stan didn't like them, everybody else has followed.
It was a time of huge excitement. I'm translating for you.
Use the mic!
Where did all the creative ideas come from? And the energy? Mostly hunger. We had to make a living. And I was always propelled by that one thing that propels us all. Greed. No, I enjoyed what I was doing. Obviously, if you do something and it's well received by the public, you get a kick out of it. So here we have the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Hulk, Spider-Man, and the books were selling like crazy. So Martin kept saying, come up with new ones, but he didn't even have to say it. It was such fun doing this. I would have done it anyway. So I figured, well, why not get a blind superhero? Nobody would believe that. And I did Daredevil, and that turned out pretty good. And then we opened Doctor Strange. By the way, they're working on Doctor Strange as a movie. You'll be seeing it. And you may have heard we're doing a movie of Ant-Man. They use a very little camera for that. They're doing movies of everything. Guardians of the Galaxy. I'll tell you a secret about my cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't tell you what it is, because I'm not allowed to tell what my cameos are, because obviously that's the only reason people go to the movies. But I will tell you this, I have absolutely no idea what the cameo I did has to do with the story. It has nothing to do with Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, you'll see what I mean when you see them. Oh, when I came here to London, was it yesterday, the day seeing the Avengers, but go see it for my cameo. I'll tell you the last thing about the cameos. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This is for those of you who are interested in business people here, who say to yourself, how can Marvel get as much money as possible at the box office? So here's what they decided. You may wonder why I was not in the last X-Men movie, which has that shown here already? I know you were all heartbroken because I wasn't in it. Here's the reason I wasn't in it, and it's very shrewd on the part of Marvel. They know if anybody goes to the movie and doesn't see my cameo, they'll figure, ooh, I must have blinked my eye, or maybe I was reaching down for the popcorn and I missed it. So what do? They run to the box office and buy another ticket, because nobody wants to miss my cameo. So every so often they leave one out so that the movie will make twice as much as it would have made. That's a little secret. I don't want you to tell anybody about it. Are you listening? I wish I had a screen like that in front so I could see us. You know, there ought to be a screen back there where we can look at each other.
If you get on that now, please, we need a screen down the back, all right?
What can I do for you now? This is why people come to hear me speak, because my answers are so philosophical and meaningful. It felt good. How the hell do you think it felt? The funny thing is, I can't take credit for the movies. I may have created the characters, but the movies are done by the best directors and screenwriters and actors. Marvel spares no expense to getting the best. And that's why the movies are so good. And DC is trying also. Oh, but that is something else. Little secret. Do you know how DC could make a hit out of their next movie? All they have to do is give me a cameo. Nobody would believe it. They'll say, I've got to see that movie. I don't believe it. I can't wait to see it. And you're free to tell the people at DC anytime you wish. Next.
Okay, let's skip that. 72, you gave up writing comics. You moved more into the acting side of it, then we moved on to Hollywood. You kept writing Spider-Man newspapers, I know, but how did you feel moving away from the theatre?
How did I feel moving away from the comics into Los Angeles, land of color, with beautiful women, with movies, with television, with music? I felt pretty good. Now, look at it this way. Saying, can't you get Stan to shut up? Look at it this way. I had spent, I don't know how many years writing those comics. After a while, you figure, I mean, okay, there's nothing left to prove. I'm not going to spend my life writing comics. So it was, oh, I'll tell you how I happened to go to the coast. Somebody else was doing some animated cartoons of our characters out in Los Angeles. And for some reason, when I became the publisher, I had to go out to Los Angeles to talk to those people. I forget why. But I had never been to Los Angeles before. And the weather was beautiful, the sun was shining, there was greenery all over, and people driving open convertibles. It looked like heaven. So when I got back to New York, I said, I've got to find a way to move to Los Angeles, and I got an idea. I called a meeting of the executives at Marvel, and I said, you know, Marvel shouldn't have other companies producing their animated cartoons. Marvel should produce its own animated cartoons. We should form a production company. And then came Peter. I said, I am willing to make the supreme sacrifice. I will move my family out to the coast and set up a production unit. I'll do it for Marvel. Well, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. You would do that for us, Stan? And I said, yes, because I love you. So I moved out to the coast to set up a studio, and I never had more fun. Thank you, fun lovers.
I really hope the sticking to areas of your career isn't so much the power entertainment. You're now still turning out new concepts, new heroes. What is it? What is it driving you to want to keep offering the public more and different heroes?
Well, it wasn't so much that I wanted to give the public more and more heroes. I love entertainment, and I love the idea of entertaining the public. And I would entertain the public any way I could. I've done things beyond heroes. We had, I don't know if you know, we have a little character in the Fantastic Four called Willie Lumpkin. He was a mailman or something. I did a newspaper strip called Willie Lumpkin for years, you know, in features. And I did a lot of magazines, humor magazines. One of them I loved. It was called You Don't Say. I would take photos of celebrities and I'd put funny captions, things that they couldn't possibly be saying, over their head. In fact, because I'm a name dropper, I'll tell you this. I was at a dinner once with President Ronald Reagan, and somebody snapped a photo of us. And he was sitting there, here was the table, and I was sitting here. We were facing each other. Now, I said to myself when I sat down, what do you say to the ex-president of the United States? What am I going to say to him? So the only thing I could think of, I said, gosh, Mr. President, you must be so relieved that you're out of office now and you don't have the responsibility of the world on your shoulders. And he looked at me wide-eyed and he said, no, I love being president. And I thought that was such an honest remark. But anyway, I have that photo. Before I sat down, I'm standing above him. He's at the table and he's looking up at me. So I wrote a caption that said, from him It's 21 pages, go ahead and draw it. And I let the artist draw it any way he wanted. Then the artist would give me the pages, all drawn in pencil, and I'd write the dialogue. I would letter in dialogue balloons, I'd letter in the captions, I'd letter in sound effects if they were needed. But the point is, it took me one day. When Steve Ditko brought me the Spider-Man pages, in one day I had it all written, because all I was doing was writing dialogue balloons and sound effects and captions. So I got spoiled. I'm used to writing the whole thing in a day, and the idea of a novel where you sit week after week after week, I just don't have the patience. I'd rather be talking to people.
Do we have roving lights? Can we get some lights out into the audience? Okay. In that case, take one from that man there that you're nearest to.
Stanley, you are absolutely welcome to say our first and foremost. You're a legend. It's a pleasure to be talking to you. But can I ask, how does it feel to be an inspiration all over the world, from kids who are from like 2 to 3 years old to fully grown adults like myself?
Okay,
It feels good. Yeah, it's really hard to believe, and it's a wonderful feeling. Thank you.
Hi Stan, I was just wondering, since other authors and writers and movie makers have taken over the characters, and you've obviously seen a lot of different interpretations of your characters, have there ever been moments where you've seen someone else do something with the character and you've wished, I wish I'd thought of doing that when I was writing it?
Yes. I wish I had thought of Wolverine. That came after I stopped writing the books. And there's another character that I understand is very popular. I have not read him because I don't have a chance to read him anymore, but there's a character called Deadpool. And if he's that popular, I wish I had thought about him. But don't worry, at my next interview I'll say I did. Who knows?
Hello, sir. I've got a question for you. If you could be asked any question from any of us, what would that question be?
nice one, right?
How soon are you going to go home to see your wife? I don't know, I can't think. I think I've been asked every question anybody could ever imagine. I have been to so many conventions, and I've loved them all. And people shower you with questions, but I think I've heard them all.
Sort of stand out.
Hi Stan, if you could cosplay and dress up as any character, who would it be and why?
Well, it wouldn't be the Black Widow. I don't know, I kind of like Tony Stark. I think I'd like to dress like a billionaire.
It was nothing, because we went to see him in New York, and he was young and it was
Thank you very much. Are you from New York?
Manchester.
Well, good for you. You know, my wife is English. She's from the north of England. And boy, I love England and I love the English people. I think of myself as half American and half English. And that Shakespeare, he knew how to write. I just thought of something. Is that fire? That's dangerous. You've enjoyed it.
Stan, it's a pleasure to have you here. Nice to meet you. I was wondering if you could write an ending for any of your characters, Spider-Man, X-Men, what would these endings be? Because the comics go on forever and we never get to see a kind of definitive end to the characters.
You want me to make up a new character and give him a name? They've all got names. How would I finish the characters off? Well, I'll give you one of the most unsatisfactory answers you've ever gotten. I kill him. Because if I were a nice guy, I would retire him. I'd have him say, well, I've been superheroing long enough. I think I'll buy a house near a golf course and spend my life playing golf. Or I kill him. It depends what mood I'm in.
Go with that one for now, if you would, please.
Well, you got people running around all over the place.
I got the power.
Me and my mum really, really love you, by the way. I want to be like Agent May, so what could you advise, what lessons for me to take in combat and martial arts, please? I want to be just like Agent May, so what combat martial arts lessons would you advise me to take?
You could be an expert in Kung Fu and Judo, and there's all kinds of Oriental names for them that I forget. Would you believe, when I was in the Army a million years ago, I taught Judo. I've forgotten all of it now, but all martial arts are good. Or you could do even better than that, just hire a bodyguard.
Okay, can you come over here? I'm giving the wind it up now sign, so we can't take any more. We're going to take that man there. It looks like it's going to burst if he doesn't get to ask his question.
Thank you. Stan, you've been married for 66, 67 years. If your wife had a superpower, what would you say it is?
Tolerating me. She's wonderful. When I met her, she was an actress, she was a model, she was a singer and a dancer. And she had a great career ahead of her. But I tried to be very macho. And I said to her, no wife of mine is going to work. And she said, okay. And it was the dumbest thing I ever said. She could have been supporting me all these years.
I've been trying to get an extra 2 or 3 questions. I've got time for one more, and it's going to go with what looks like someone who's probably the youngest member of our audience. Go for it.
Have you noticed the thingy? Did you make Fing Foo? No, the big green dragon.
Okay, I didn't get it either.
Huh? screen goblin, which is GG. This big one, which is PG.
Okay, iterations, your Bruce...
Oh, that's an easy one to answer. Even though you think of me as a model of perfection, I have a terrible memory. It made it easy for me to remember the names of my characters, because if they all had a name where the first name and the last name began with the same letter, if I could think of Peter, I knew his last name began with P, so it made it easier for me to think of the Parker, and Bruce Banner, and Reed. Oh well, the last name must begin with R. How about Richards? I did it just because I have a lousy memory, and I hate telling you this because I'd like you to think I was perfect, but I'm afraid after this interview you're going to know better.
Okay, unfortunately, I've got to wrap it up. I could stay here and listen to him all night. I'm sure you could as well. I've got to say that it's been one of the great pleasures of my life to be on this stage tonight with this man in front of you people. I'd like to thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Give yourself a round, go on.
Hey, and I would like to thank you for your help, and I